Hello, so today we're going to be talking about recommendation reports. So what is a recommendation report? A recommendation report proposes a solution to a problem or evaluates multiple solutions to a problem. Basically, it's going to detail a specific problem and then include whatever you believe is the best solution to a problem and compare that against other possible solutions. So it's going to detail a problem, solution, and benefits of that solution. A recommendation report can be used to solve many problems, so it's very essential to understand, but however, it's most frequently found in science and business-related fields. So a recommendation report follows the basic format of other reports, including a cover letter, introduction, body, and conclusion. The most technical part of a recommendation report falls in its body, as it includes background information, requirements, discussion of solutions, comparison of solutions, and a summary table. So in the background information section, this is an example I found. You can pause it if you want to read it, but I wanted to point out 3 essential parts. The first is going to be to include any information that your audience needs to understand the rest of the report, a background on the problem, anything like that. Next will be the actual problem, in this case a replacement for the stove. And then it should always include what the solutions you are going to discuss are. Next is a requirement section, which is basically just discussing how you're deciding what the best solution is. There's 3 main ways to do this: through a numerical system, which is basically going to be some sort of cost system, a yes or no system, so if you're talking about features, you can just say if the option or solution has it or if it doesn't, and then a rating system is going to be the most flexible of the 3 ways, so this can be a 1 to 10 sort of system, or just a good, bad, fair, poor system to describe the features of your solutions. Next is the discussion of the solutions. This is just going to be discussing each possible solution in its own paragraph. You're going to want to make them brief and just provide specifications about each solution. You're not doing any comparisons yet, you're simply just outlining the solutions that you're about to compare. The comparison section comes next, and there's basically 2 ways to compare. You can go a whole-to-whole approach or a point-by-point approach. A whole-to-whole approach is just talking about each option in its own paragraph. So if you're doing option A, you can say it's the most expensive, it's easy to use. Option B, you could say least expensive, not very easy to use though. Where a point-by-point approach, you would talk about the cost for all 3 options first, and then the functions for all 3 options in the next paragraph. Both are highly effective, it's just up to personal preference. So this is an example of a comparison section. Again, you can pause it if you want to read it, but I wanted to point out the sentence in blue. Each comparison paragraph should have its own conclusion at the bottom, just recapping what you decided or realized in each section. So this one says XM has more options for the lower price plug and play than Sirius does. So you're just going to want to make sure that you have that conclusion sentence at the end of each paragraph, no matter which approach you choose. And then it is optional to end your body with a summary table. It's going to be very helpful if, for like this example, you have a lot of categories of features that you're testing, or if you just have a lot of options, it will just help your audience refresh on what they just read before you go into your conclusions. So conclusions for recommendation reports are going to be longer than most conclusions in other professional writing. They're typically going to be about 1 page long, and that's because you're going to first want to state all the individual conclusions, like the ones that I just mentioned before, and then you're going to narrow those down until you arrive at the recommended solution. You're always going to want to end with what you believe the best solution is, because that is ultimately the purpose of the whole report, to get the audience on board with your solution. And just some style and content tips before I end. You're going to want to establish credibility throughout the report. This can be done by just integrating research and showing that you have sources that you used. Always include a source list at the end. You're going to want to prove your knowledge about the problem, so you don't want to leave out essential parts of the problem. Make sure you're covering everything. And then you're going to need an awareness of the audience's needs If your audience is very cost conscious, you're not going to want to say that a very expensive solution is the best one because they're not going to want to accept it. You need to blend their needs with what you believe the best solution is. And then focusing on grammar, spelling, word choice, all of those things. Just make sure the report is formal and well written. And always proofread. That's the number one tip I can give to anyone writing any sort of professional writing. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope that this helped you write better recommendation reports.